Good evening, everybody. Today it is May 27th of the year 2021. It is 8 p.m. Eastern, and this is the voice of Aggroed, or Aggie, or Blair Reich, whatever you want to call me. I don't really care. It's an exciting time in the Splinterlands. Seriously, there's just so much going on. It has been nonstop. It has been um, just flat out, frankly. Okay, so I'm recording. There should be other recordings that are happening as well. Um, Matt, do you want to go introduce yourself real quick, just for the recording and for new people that might be listening?
Hey, hello everybody. I am Matt. We'll just go with Matt. Um, and co-founder and CTO of Splinterland, and just avid gamer and very super excited about everything that we're doing here. You know, we've talked about this a lot, but we are just building what we as gamers want to play.
And this thing it's going kind of ballistic. I mean, it just, this year has been the best year in Splinterland's history by far, by leaps and bounds. We're adding new people. And we recently just put out um, a new project or a new piece of the ecosystem that both Matt and I have been thinking about, talking about, describing, pitching, selling, incorporating, binding, uh, teaming, excited, just like, find a verb and that requires some work and effort. And Matt and I have probably been doing it on behalf of this community in regards to um, the SPS token. So, Matt, I don't want to cloud anybody's thoughts. I have done a lot of game design, but this one is the brainchild and the beautiful, beautiful baby of Matt. He said, you know what we need? We need a governance token. And so many of these ideas are his. This was like some divine inspiration as far as I'm considered. So, Matt, do you want to talk us through SPS? What is it? This whole thing is meant to be an AMA about it. So maybe we can do kind of a high level discussion about it to begin with. We can answer some of the questions that are already in the chat, maybe that in more of the sort of like controlled narrative framework. And then if there's extra time in this hour, we can go back to um, just talking about it and answering questions and telling people why we're excited about it and why we think it's such a big deal. Do you want to give us
Yeah,
some breakdown?
yeah. I was hoping to talk a little bit about it before we got started. Also, I'm up for going, past an hour if people have more questions and there's more stuff to talk about. I mean, I'm, really excited about this, just like from a player perspective. Um, like, we said before, we build what we want to play. So if we just think of like this would be really cool, like what would I put a whole bunch of money into if this was available? Then we build that. So that's where all this comes from. So I'm happy to talk about it. I'm excited to talk about it. So yeah, let's talk about it. So obviously, the initial idea, the main core concept is a governance token. Uh, but there's like way more there than it's like just a governance token. I think a lot of times projects have governance tokens and they're honestly pretty boring and useless for the most part. That's not at all how we want this to be. So I think the governance aspect will start on that because that's like the key, most important thing. And there was one question that I saw posted either in Mavericks or General, which was a really good question that I wanted to talk about, which is like, okay, if play, let's say, we have the tokens and people are staking them and people can make proposals. What will happen with those proposals if they're approved? Is it like, the Splinterlands team will now go say, okay, this proposal was approved. We'll figure out when we can work on it. What if, it's not something we want to work on, etc. And this is something I thought a lot about. And I hope it kind of talked about it a little bit in the in-game governance. But basically, within the game, there are lots and lots of different variables, like configuration parameters. So it's the tournament schedule. While those are currently not built into the game as configuration parameters, they're going to be. So Aggro doesn't have to keep putting them in manually every month. all the stats on all the cards. Those are, configuration parameters for the games. All the rewards, whether, it's like loot box, loot chest rewards or season rewards, everything. All the battle settings, time limits, mana cap, rule sets, inactive splinters, the inflation pools for dark energy crystals. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different configuration parameters. So the plan that I have is that, there'll be a user interface for submitting a governance proposal, and you'll be able to pick from the available parameters and, basically input what you would want to change them to. So let's say, you take a card that you think is overpowered and you want to change its stats. You can click on that card. You can, update the stats to the values that you want, and you could submit that proposal. Or you could take a proposal for battle settings, and you could say, I don't want this rule set anymore. I don't like that rule set. I think we should take it out of the game. Fine, you disable that rule set configuration parameter, and you submit a governance proposal. That gets submitted to the blockchain with all the data about what parameters should be adjusted. Then players can vote, and we don't have all the details of how exactly the voting will work yet, but that's part of what we will build. And that can also be changed potentially by a governance vote to change how governance voting works, but I'm getting a little meta here. So the idea is you submit these proposals, they're on the blockchain, everyone votes, all the votes are handled on the blockchain, and when a proposal is approved, the system automatically will pick up that change. Then there'll probably be some delay, like 24, 48 hours or something. And those configuration parameters will just automatically be updated. So it's not a matter of, does the Splinterlands team, have time to do this work or whatever. For all those different parameters in the game, they can just be changed through governance proposals, and it will automatically happen. Beyond that, I think there's, probably going to be a bunch of proposals for more involved things that aren't just simple parameter changes. And that will be the type of thing where it will require, if approved, then it will require, us, in most cases, to put some time and to add that into our roadmap and schedule. So that's more like on us to figure out how we're going to do them. But again, if it's the type of thing where the majority of the token holders approve it, then we will be highly incentivized to make that change. So that's how I see governance working for in-game governance, and I just think that's going to be pretty cool. And again, not something I'm aware of that exists in any other games right now. And then I'll also mention that the DAO, the Binance Smart Chain contracts, that will also have governance voting to change any aspects of the DAO and how the token works on the Binance Smart Chain side that players want. So everything in the white paper, all the the play to earn, reward pools, all that stuff, those are all up for people to submit changes to. If you think, oh, there's too many tokens going to ranked battle rewards and not enough going to tournament prizes, fine, you submit a proposal. And if it gets approved, those changes get automatically implemented. So I think there's just going to be a whole ton of power in the hands of the player community once this is all said and done. It's going to take a little while to build. But that's the goal of it. And that's what we think is just really cool. Like, we're players of the game. It'd be really cool to have that kind of voting ability among the player base.
Do you want to talk a little bit just about like the kind of long range vision in terms of decentralization? How does this fit in? Like, what do you want to talk some about how you want this game to operate just sort of over time and where we're going to go with it so that people can see how this governance aspect fits into the biggest picture we can design for it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is like exactly sort of a roadmap for how we want everything to ultimately be. And the oracles are a key part of that. So we're going to have the smart contracts for the token living on Binance Smart Chain, but the game is still going to run and operate on Hive like it currently does. So there will be oracles, which are, people or entities that will run software that will basically send the transactions back and forth. So if someone stakes tokens in their Binance Smart Chain wallet, an oracle will send transaction to the Hive blockchain. So the game knows that this player now has tokens staked, and vice versa. You know, if someone wins a bunch of tokens by playing winning ranked battles in the game, they'll be able to claim those tokens, and the oracles will send. The player will send a transaction to the Hive blockchain. The oracles will pick that up and send the equivalent transaction to the Binance Smart Chain smart contract. And the Oracle system is planned to be set up, you know, pretty similar to how Hive or any delegated proof of stake system works, where everyone can use their staked tokens to vote on who the oracles are, and all the exact details of that are going to be figured out. But we want to expand that to much more than just oracles for, you know, communicating between Hive and Binance Smart Chain. We also want to have that same. It can be the same people, the same Oracle code, or it could be separate code. I'm not sure yet, but that should handle all the bridges between Splinterlands and different blockchains. For example, sending cards to Wax, sending dark energy crystals to Binance Smart Chain or Ethereum, or things to Tron. You know, at the moment, we control all of those accounts and that whole process, but we'd like it to be the same way that this Oracle system works, where there are elected oracles that pick up transactions. So when you send tokens to FL Wax in the game, the oracles will pick it up, and there'll be multi-sig accounts that a majority of them have to sign to give the correct amount of tokens on the Wax blockchain, and vice versa. So, I mean, ultimately, the goal is to have, you know, the player community being able to run software that pretty much runs everything about the game over time, eventually. And then the people who are, you know, elected to do that are like witnesses on Steam or Hive, and are elected by the token holders. So that's like kind of the whole grand vision, I guess, that you were referring to, that this is, you know, one of the big first steps in.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that gives me some goosebumps about this is like, Matt and I are trying to be as crypto as we know how. What is the crypto ethos? And it's not, you know, we're going to make as much money and do as much for ourselves as possible, and we're going to rake it all in so that we get rich and we're awesome. And you know, that's like free to play games. And if we wanted to do that, we could have built something on Ethereum and made more money. But that's not what we want. What we want is a mainstream game that brings people into crypto so that they can experience some of the peace, prosperity, and freedom that comes with that. And part of that peace, prosperity, and freedom is really having governance and control and feeling like you are running the ecosystem, that you have control of this ecosystem, you have financial opportunities in this ecosystem, and that the money isn't all just for Splinterlands and the formal stakeholders and whatever. We want it to be part of like every single piece of the ecosystem, that the players have an opportunity to earn, that the players have an opportunity to run it, that the players have control and input and how they want to see things done as a big collective. They're making the calls, and hopefully you guys are feeling that, seeing that, and over time we'll appreciate that. You know, we want to guide this project, but we want the players to just have as much governance and decentralize many parts of this to kind of the limits, and push the limits of this technology, and where we want to see the game go. So hopefully you guys can hear that and say, you know, maybe I can't understand every single word out of Matt's mouth. You know, some of this is technical, some of it is tricky, but just, I want you to understand that Matt and I trust this community, believe in this community, and we want to put more power and earning potential in the hands of this community. And that's what this governance token to me represents, the first step. So we've talked about two aspects so far, and I think there's well more than two aspects. But so far we have governance and voting. Next up we have oracles. There's more to this. Like, what I still want to do kind of just high level. You're getting a little bit into the weeds on each different part. Can you just step it back a bit. Just tell me like, you know, think of it as like the two-pager version. Just give me like the dumbed down version. What are the benefits that the players are going to get? So first off, they get some governance control. Next off, there's going to be some opportunity to earn by running oracles, and that's going to help decentralize this process. What other big categories are there that the players should know about and think to ask us about?
Yeah, so I guess there's like three things I wanted to touch on, and I'll try not to get too into the weeds here, like I did with the governance aspect. So, one I see as a question from Nardian, which I like, about why isn't the staking on players thing like more front and center? I feel like there's so many things I want to be front and center, and I guess they can't all be front and center, but there's like a lot of really cool stuff in here. So the whole plan for being able, instead of like normal tokens, you just stake them, you get rewards. That's it. That's not great for a game where we really want to encourage people to play the game, right? And it sort of mimics real life in a way, as people can put money, whether betting or teams invest money into players, and so we wanted to kind of recreate that as best we could. In a way that stake token holders can earn returns by also encouraging players to prove and move up and perform well. So that's in the ranked battle section of the white paper. It talks about how in order to earn from having staked SPS tokens, you need to stake them on players. It could be yourself, it could be other players, it could split it up in any way you choose. And there's what I think is a pretty cool, system and formula for setting up the rewards, and it works like at a high level. The goal is, as a player, you just want to basically get your rating as high as you possibly can, and there may be other ways to for player performance. But to start, it's going to be just based on rating, because the higher your rating, the more you're going to be able to earn for people who stake tokens on you. And the more tokens you have staked on you, the more you'll earn yourself. So as a player, you just want to, you want to win as many battles as possible and move up the rankings. So I'm hoping this will, make it less, exciting for people to stay in lower leagues than they really should be in, try to get the top of the leaderboard, but instead it'll be much more lucrative for them to move up and try to get into the highest league possible. And then that will encourage more people to stake tokens on you as you move up and you're earning more. And it's a pretty cool formula in the sense that, we don't want it to be a case where everyone is staking their tokens on Yathic, right? So it's sort of a diminishing returns situation. So, if there's tons of tokens staked on a really good player, it would, be more to your advantage to stake tokens on a player who's not as high ranked, but doesn't have as many token stakes on them to get a bigger return. So I agree with Nardian that it is super cool, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's it takes a little while to understand how it works and the idea behind it, but I think it's gonna be really powerful and unique in the gaming space how this aspect works.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's pretty groundbreaking. And in fact, I'm surprised that there aren't other like major projects that really do this, because I don't know. To me, it reminds me of like there's aspects of like sports books and like betting, but what's nice is that there's no actual wager. So it's like you get to bet on your favorite team, you get to bet on your favorite player, you get to bet on your favorite stuff, but it's not. These things aren't wagers, because if you like, if Yasik or Byzantinist or BJI or somebody doesn't like show up and be awesome, it's not like you lose anything. It's just I'm just amazed that there's not more projects that do it this way, because it just puts so much excitement.
The key is that the player also benefits from that, right? So, and typically, if you're a sports player and people are betting on you, you don't get anything, right? If you win money for those people by performing well. I mean, obviously, players get paid very well in professional sports, but the idea here is like the players will be directly rewarded for the more tokens they can encourage to get staked on them, the more people that are betting on them, so to speak. a pretty cool, like, I guess, symbiotic relationship is the idea between the players and the token holders.
So hopefully you guys look, man. There's just so many different cool parts of this. So I think that's a good high level for staking and earning. So we have oracles, we have governance, we have some staking to earn tokens. What else is part of this white paper, Matt?
So there's the offers and promotions section, which is also one of those things I feel like is not as like prominent as it probably should be. But the whole idea, as far as Splinterlands is concerned, I mean, it's our goal within the game to drive as much value to staking the tokens as possible, right? So I don't know exactly how we're going to do everything. Maybe that's why that section is a little sparse. But the point of the section is that basically anywhere and any way that we possibly can, we are going to try to encourage people to stake SPS tokens. And we have assets and we have things that people want to get. We do promotions, we do airdrops that people want to get so they can be better at the game and move up and all that stuff. So that it's all that the goal is to drive value to the SPS token. So like pretty much everything we can think of, it's just like, how does this drive value to the token? And that's going to come back, right, to us. Because, and this is one thing I think I've seen in some comments, I'm not sure people realize, like the airdrop is great and all, and everyone's going to get that, and everyone's excited for airdrops. But really, the biggest pools of the tokens are the play to earn and reward pools. And specifically with play to earn, there's going to be tokens for ranked battles. There's going to be tokens for tournaments. There's going to be tokens for the land expansion, guild brawls. And if you want to earn more of those tokens from the biggest pools, you're going to need, more cards and better cards and more land and more assets, basically. So the more value that goes into the SPS tokens, the more players are going to want to earn more SPS tokens, which the more players are going to want to, get more cards, especially like some of the older cards, like alpha cards or gold foil cards, because they'll have boosts and benefits to earn more SPS tokens. So it's basically a virtuous cycle. So it's in our best interest, and I think everyone's best interest, for us to figure out how to drive as much value as we can to the SPS tokens, because that'll come back to benefit Splinterlands, the company, and all the players. So that it's like, all these things I feel like are nuances that I guess, I have trouble expressing necessarily in a white paper, but that's also why I like to talk about this with everybody, to explain these things.
So one of the things that we've done, and I'm gonna derail this just slightly, but one of the things that happens because of this white paper and because of this plan and because of what we're doing and because of how we're building, we're starting to attract different audiences and different people to this ecosystem. And man, our player base is fantastic, but some of the things that we really haven't had a ton of in our history is marketing, like real professional marketing with wonderful connections to big organizations. We haven't had that. But that's part of what's going to be coming in through this partnership. We have some of the biggest crypto PR firms coming in to go help our company, and that'll be over the next 6 months. And another thing that has happened is another partnership that we've made is that we've gotten our first venture capital investment. And so one of the things that I asked for, so I have unmuted Andrew. Andrew, you should be able to speak. Can you say hi?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. All right, so Andrew, do you want to give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you represent, and then we can move on from there a bit.
Sure, yeah. My name is Andrew. I was a founder first, so I guess similar to Aggie and the rest of the group, like we've all gone through kind of the founder journey. I've grown 5 other companies, raised a lot of venture capital myself as a founder, exited a couple times in some companies, and then really started a VC focused on supporting founders that I really believed in. So I wanted to be a founder first investor, someone who meets founders on their level, and then really start investing in them. So to that extent, we write, 15 to $20 million a year into investments. We do a lot of later stage, in the investment world called Series B plus investments. And more recently, we've come down more into the seed and Series A areas where we try to find really amazing founders that we like. So it's been a really fun experience as a VC. Backed a lot of really good founders and tried to really leverage our network. A lot of the guys on my team, and in our network have built billion-dollar companies and exited. So we really just we look at a company, we try to find a founder we like, and then we just say, "Hi, how the hell can we use our network to make this company grow as fast as possible?"
So you and your business decided to go invest into Splinterlands, and you were the first venture capitalist to come in and offer to go put in some investment. We've had a fair number of angels come in. We've had a fair number of players that decided to purchase some equity in our business. What got you thinking that you should invest here? There are some stories about this that you may or may not want to share. But what is it about Splinterlands that got you thinking this is a company where we should park our capital? And what gives you faith that that our company, our business, and our team here will be successful like some of the other projects that have gone unicorn for you in the past?
Yeah, quite embarrassingly, actually, I did pass on you guys to begin with. I really, really liked what you guys were building. I really loved, the team. I loved you and the team. And I was just having a really tough time of figuring out how this company was going to potentially exit and where that was going to go and how big this game could get. And I think embarrassingly enough, I just couldn't let it go. It was the one normally when you say pass, like we see 3,000 companies a year. Normally when you say pass, you're just like you move on to the next one. This one really stuck with me. Like every morning I was waking up thinking like, man, I wonder what Splinterlands is doing. Like I'd go and check like the DApp rankings and be like, oh, they're still up there. And I would look at all the users that were buying packs, and I was just like, man, this game is so fucking cool. And then I had a friend of mine show me, how to play it because I hadn't actually played it yet. And so I started getting involved and thinking like, how do you actually play this game? And it became addicting. I remember staying up one night battling over and over and over again. And my wife went to bed. And I just kind of came to the realization that if I didn't do the investment, and I really just believed in you guys as leaders, as really putting the community first. And I know that that's kind of cliche, but it just actually stuck with me. The authenticity stuck with me, and I couldn't shake it. And I just kept thinking, like, man, I wonder where you are. I wonder where you are. I wonder where you are. And so, I reached back out and kind of ate my words, and said, like, hey, I know we passed, but I just like honestly can't stop thinking about the company. And I love everything you guys are doing. And I don't know exactly what this looks like to get involved, but I knew that I felt like if I didn't, I would 100% regret it. And so it's one of the only ones I can think of where we've passed and I've come back just because it's stuck with me. And I just think it's such a cool community, and just watching like even how you interact with all the different players and what your visions for the game are and where this could go. Like I don't have a clear line of sight of exactly what it's going to be, but I trust that you guys are the guys that are going to figure out, and that this is going to be an amazing game and a great journey along the way.
So what in particular do you think you're the most excited about? Like look, I know you love building companies, and that's really like the exciting piece to you. But what makes you want to build this one? What part of that vision resonated the most that made you say, "Yep, I got to be here," and this is just some cool tech, or these are what was it like? What was the one thing that like got you more than the other parts?
Well, the first thing was me and you just sitting around shooting the shit, talking about cryptocurrency for a long time. It had nothing to do with at all the game, and just like being able to talk to you on a human level, and it not feeling like 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 a weird pitch or something. Like I really liked you. It really comes down to team more than anything, and then the game. Like the game is so polished. It's sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to be cursing on here, but it's cool. It's a super sick game. As I was playing it, I became addicted to it. Like I actually thought it was like really awesome. And you know, as someone who's played Magic and other games and stuff, you just kind of get it. You're like immediately like, okay, I understand where this is going. I can kind of see why. I can see why people would continue playing the game. It's not like you're prospecting a card or something. Like, I mean, there's that too probably, but it's actually like there's a utility to the cards and how you're playing the games and how you're battling. And I think I just thought it was a game I could see myself playing over and over. And honestly, there's so many use cases, and I'm scared to share what I'm not allowed to share.
Oh, you
So I'm
go.
more.
Just don't use a brand name, but just keep it vague, and we should be okay.
I think the way that this can be applied for the same game can be applied for other types of sports, other types of games. How this thing could be skinned. Like I think the potential of the underlying technology is so like what you've built is very unique, and I have a lot of experience with other, let's call it brand name, dapps. And I would say that I really don't think, like, from my experience and what I know, you know the unfair advantage I have is having a lot of insight into companies, maybe behind the scenes, and the direction I know that they're heading is very much not a direction that you're heading. And I think that the way that you've created a game that you can skin towards other games, think of all the cool other fantasy worlds or things there or brands that you could bring into this. Even just when you think about from a sports context, like what if you applied this to fantasy football or fantasy soccer or fantasy baseball, and all the potential ways that you could create these battles and these scenarios, which, different players, different set of powers, different set of, unique parameters, but the game and the underlying tech itself is so scalable for those things that I think I see this, and I think this is honestly just the beginning. And I think Splinterlands can be a massive game in its own right, and probably will be. But I think the potential to bring just the everyday person who doesn't understand crypto yet, and the everyday person who maybe wants to get into just gameplay in a different and unique way. I think it's like an entry point for everyone into this type of technology, and I think it's going to be a game changing technology. So that, like, at the end of the day, I know that's, you can say that all day long, but I actually think you guys are living it, and I felt like it stuck with me. It was sticky. Like I could immediately see, and I guess in my background, I have investments in the podcast space that are tied to tons of different sports teams and large brands. We have a variety of investments with pretty big celebrities and other verticals. And I think everybody that will be exposed to this is going to think it's cool, and will probably find some way that they could think about, oh, this would be really awesome to apply this to X. And so when you see those kinds of companies, I think that they stick with people because everyone has an idea of what they could potentially use it for, or what they would like to see out of it. And I think that brings everybody to the table. And so really that's the aspect of how scalable it can be, the team that's leading it, and the fact that you're community first. I mean, those are the things I preach as an investor, and if I ignored them, I would be foolish.
So I want to bring the investor piece of this to a close. I want to get back to some of the SPS. I wanted to make sure that you had time to come on, that we didn't sort of take too much of your time. But to me, this story that we're doing with the SPS token, it's not just Andrew that's coming in. There's firms all over the world that are purchasing this token, that are bringing in their interest, their enthusiasm, their experience, their network, their teams, their influencer pods and pools of candidates, and all of this back end infrastructure that comes with these venture capital arms and these just larger pools of capital. You get all this other stuff with it. It's not just the money that's coming in. Like, we're a profitable business. We already make money. We got that. But what we don't have is like all this knowledge, all this experience, all of these contacts, all of these companies, all of these influencers, all of this freaking experience that's like 50 times, they just have so many people that have already done the same thing. And, Andrew is fantastic, but, we also have like another 20, 30 voices guiding us and directing us and encouraging us, similar to the passion that you're hearing out of Andrew. And it's building that piece of this that is coming with this governance token that when I'm getting excited, when I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe what's happening to our business, to our families, to our community, to our game. It's not just having this one awesome, well-spoken voice that has done this before. It's that whole network, and it's now times like 20 to 30 different groups behind us in different countries, different backgrounds, different everything. I mean, I'm just I'm blown away, and hopefully you guys can hear that you don't just have to say, "Hey, I trust Aggie and Matt. They're gonna bring this game to fruition, and we're all gonna go to the same moon because of them." Because honestly, what this is doing is it's bringing in so many more people. Anything you want to leave us with, Andrew? If there's a lot more that you want to share, I don't want to stop you, but I also don't want to hold you up. Any kind of final thoughts and where we should?
I guess I'm just super impressed with, like, to your point, everybody. I know that we can't say names and brands and stuff, but I just feel like everybody is coming on board. Like like all the people that I respect and that I look to, and a lot of the people that a lot of the milestones I would hope to accomplish, like everything seems so attainable and within reach, and all the people that are coming aboard, you're right, it's not just me. There's so many people that have this breadth of experience that are coming to the table and saying, we can help, we want to help, we want to help you get there. And that kind of momentum's infectious. And so I just see this as being such a foundational starting. I know you don't need the money, you don't need this stuff, but it's like having the right partners gets you there so much faster. And I think your recognition of that and really bringing all these voices in is incredible. Like, it's actually, every time I'm on a call with some of the other people, I'm just sitting there in also amazement that all of these people really believe in you and really want to make Splinterlands and make this entire business a household name. Like, it's honestly, like, it's going to move quickly, and I'm excited about the potential here. And it's a team sport. Like, growing a company is a team sport, and I think you've put the right team together. So I'm so pumped with everything. Every time we get on a call together, I'm just excited about where we're going, and I'm just so excited that I'm so excited that I guess I couldn't sleep. I'm excited that it kept nagging at me until I came back and said, okay, I've got to figure this out. So I couldn't be more excited about the entire investment, the company, all the new announcements, everything that will be coming that I know is coming. Like, I'm very excited about everything, and I think it benefits every single player on the platform.
Well, Andrew, I'm stoked that you can make it. I'm humbled that you took your time. We are doing one of these in the morning, so if you want to share similar thoughts or think on that and come back tomorrow and tell us some more, you are certainly more than welcome, because I want to make sure that everybody gets to hear the perspectives and hear where we're coming from, and hear, not just from Matt and I, but from the people that are putting in, big chunks of cash into here, and not just saying, hey, this looks cool, but putting their money where their mouth is, investing in this project and saying, let's go take this to new heights. And honestly, I'm honored to have you as a partner. I'm grateful to have you here. I really look forward to your mentorship, your experience having done this a whole bunch of times, and then your network. I mean, Matt and I, just one tiny example, Matt and I are like, man, we need to hire some devs, because there's going to be a whole lot more work for us to do. And we said, Andrew, do you have any help? And he's like, well, actually, I have a list of 5,000 devs that have already gone through all kinds of screening that we can leverage to help you accelerate your hiring process. And I don't know if you guys can appreciate that, but having 5,000 people that have already taken tests, exams, talked about what they want, have gone through like some kind of critical review, is going to save Matt and I like hundreds of hours of time trying to go find the needle in the haystack, the next cryptomancer, the next they call me Tim, the next melon man, the guys that are in here like getting their hands dirty, building this code and helping us put it together. That shit is hard. And it's just made so much easier when we have resources like Andrew and Side Door Ventures to help us.
Well, I'm stoked to help. I'm excited. I'll try to make the morning call. I appreciate you guys hearing me out. You probably want to hear more about how hyped this game is going to be. So, but I appreciate it. I'll help you guys however I can because I think you guys are the shit. So that's really what I got to say.
I'm touched, Andrew. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And I'm trying to match, and hopefully you guys can, the audience can hear that some of this thing is a really highly technical piece. It's oracles, it's governance tokens, it's how we can manage promotions, it's airdrops, and it's this technical component, and it's the code, and it's the silicon chips. And the other half of this is the partnerships, the finances, it's getting talent, it's running this business, it's the marketing aspect. And as this SPS is successful and as these groups come in, it just the wealth of resources that we have is opening doors that I couldn't have dreamed of. And it's not like, if we had millions of more dollars in the bank, I'd be looking for the things that these people are naturally coming with us and saying, yes, we own your token, and yes, we're fighting to be in this position to own some of this SPS. And in order for us to get an allocation so that we can get in early, we are going to bring some of our skills, our network, and we're going to help you. And Andrew is phenomenal, and the only thing better than having Andrew with us is having like a small army of Andrews as the wind in our sails. Okay, so that's, I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful we get to do this. So I want to go back to some of the technical things. So, because I want this to kind of hit on all aspects, high level, into the weeds, maybe not too much in the weeds, but Matt, why don't you give us some, so we have governance, we have oracles, we have airdrops, we have play to earn, we have marketing partnerships, we have like hiring help, we have all of this. There are still more components that are coming because of this SPS governance token. Do you want to walk us through some of the other technical pieces, some of the other parts that we're building with this?
In 45 minutes, we haven't answered one question over AMA. I'm just going to say one more quick thing, and then I wanted to get to the question, which I'm sure we'll touch on all the things that we haven't already touched on anyway. So the one thing I wanted to say is, which is what Aggroed and Andrew have been talking about, but we've taken a lot of criticism and reasonable criticism that while we've built a lot of cool things in the past, we haven't got the attention and we haven't got the uptick that a lot of other projects have. A lot of much worse projects that get much higher values for tokens and NFTs than we've been able to do. And I think that's we're changing that now, and that's answers really the main answer for the question, why Binance Smart Chain? So originally we had all these ideas that we talked about for the governance token, how it should work, and it was all planned to just be based on Hive, like everything that we are currently doing. But by doing the extra effort, and it's going to be a lot of extra effort for us to do this whole separate smart contract system on Binance Smart Chain with the oracles and all that. But that's where it's going to open up everything, like it already has. You aren't really privy to everything and all the partners that we're bringing in, but just having it be on a chain like Binance Smart Chain just opens it up to a huge market of investors and funds and everything that we've basically been lacking for the past 3 years. So that's why Binance Smart Chain was chosen. I mean, Ethereum would be the other option, as we discussed in the white paper. but we also want, people to not have to spend $10 or $20 every time they want to vote on something or stake their token. So, and there's also a lot of opportunities that Binance Smart Chain, having the token base there, opens up that wouldn't even potentially be possible on Ethereum. So yeah, for all that criticism, we agree and we understand, and that's why we're not just having this be another Hive-based thing, and we're going through all the effort of doing this whole Oracle system and having the token be based on Binance Smart Chain. It's going to bring in everything that we failed to bring in the past. And as we start announcing all these partnerships that we're going to be announcing related to the token over the next few weeks, I think you're going to start to see that literally playing out. All right, should we get to the questions?
Yeah, I'm scrolling back. So there are some regular AMA questions. I think I'm going to skip those for now. So don't hate me too much. This is more, I'm here to answer kind of the special AMAs, and maybe after, maybe we won't have to do a full special AMA tomorrow, and we can do part special AMA at the beginning and then more of the regular AMA at the end. But I want to stick with the theme for the show tonight of just the SPS questions. So I do recognize that there's some questions. I'm going to skip them and then I'll come back to them tomorrow. So here I'm seeing Neil McSpadden at 240 for the DEC and the liquidity pools getting 2 airdrop points. Does that include just the DEC value and pool or the DEC plus BUSD value? I asked that same question, so I'm glad that other smart people are asking.
It's just the DEC, and that's why it's worth 2 airdrop points, because for every dark energy crystal in a pool, you also have to match it with another token. So that's why it's just the value of the dark energy crystals that you have in the pool, and then times 2 airdrop points, because you're also putting up other value to match.
All right, Suyer's asking, could you please make skins tradable, as many skins will be bought now that it's linked to the SPS airdrop and the value of the skins might increase?
Yeah. So actually, there is an operation that can be broadcast to transfer skins right now. It just hasn't been published or put in the UI yet. So I think we can probably get in some quick and dirty way to do that until we have a more robust system for skins and other assets. The issue specifically with skins is that they were built a long time ago and they need a lot of changes and updates and work on the back end to have them work like the other tokens on the inventory screen and stuff like that. So we'll get there, but I agree we should get something in quickly in the meantime.
Unikiana is asking a great question here. Why wasn't this announcement on the roadmap? So we've been hinting at this thing forever. I guess my first answer is legal. Legal has been up our heinies this entire time and making sure, we work with them very frequently and we try to make sure that everything that we do, we can't get to zero risk. We're in crypto. There's nothing that's going to be zero risk, but we try to set things up with the smallest amount of risk possible. And so my answer is legal. Matt, thoughts on why this wasn't on the roadmap? Or
well, it was on the roadmap. At least the 2 most recent roadmap posts, there was an item that said, major new thing we haven't announced yet. Well, now we've announced it.
All right, that's fair. Okay. Ocular Magic is asking, after the new governance token is fully implemented and a vote is cast, even if 90% of the player base votes for a change, the Splinterlands team can decide not to implement it, correct? The Splinterlands team has to agree to that change. These tokens are mainly to be used in the governing segments for players to vote on what they want implemented by the Splinterlands team, giving the most weight to the players with the most stake in the game. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, I talked about that earlier because I saw a question posted earlier. But no. So we talked about there's a whole list of parameters in the game. I listed a bunch earlier. But and the idea is that you can submit a proposal to change any of those parameters, and if passed by governance vote, it will automatically be, it would automatically be taken up by the code, read from the blockchain transactions, and those parameters would automatically update. So It is not up to us to decide whether or not to implement it. It's not, we don't even do anything in the process. It's just, you submit a proposal to change certain parameters. If approved, those parameters get changed automatically just as part of the code. And that'll be both for the in-game governance and for the DAO governance. So the smart contracts work where they basically, they call other smart contracts. So like there'll be the main token smart contract, there'll be a governance voting smart contract, there'll be a minting smart contract, there'll be a staking smart contract, there'll be all this stuff. So, someone could write up a change to one of those smart contracts and put a proposal that says, I want to change the minting smart contract to this new version that does these new things. It could be literally anything that you can program, and if people vote for it, then it will automatically, the minting smart contract that's used for the token will automatically be updated. And we're looking into a bunch of different popular DAO systems that are in use today, and that we're going to probably copy and make some adjustments to. So for the majority of the time, it won't not only won't require anything from us, but we won't be able to have any input or influence on how that works. I expect that there will be some instances where people submit proposals that are not just parameter changes or things that can be updated in the token smart contracts. And then in those cases, yes, it would have to be, we would have to decide whether or not we can and are willing to implement that change. But like I said, if the majority of players vote for it, there would have to be some really good reason that I'm not really thinking of why we wouldn't do the change. And we can also make, if there's a proposal that's getting popular and we think that it's not good or that we can't do it for whatever reason, we'll be able to comment on the proposal and, let people know, and that can potentially influence their voting. Hopefully that answered that one.
Yep, that was good. All right, Vita is asking, will lands be distributed before the airdrop start? This is important to the players that purchase tracks or regions.
Well, I'm not sure if, when you say be distributed, I guess if you mean being able to claim your land plot claims or tract or region claims. I'm not quite sure of the timing on those two things, but regardless, if you have plot, tract, or region claims, you'll still be able to get the airdrops. So it's not, even though in the airdrop it said per plot, like a tract just counts as 100 plots and a region counts as 1,000 plots. So you shouldn't, regardless of the timing of when land claiming goes live, it shouldn't change anything about how many airdrop tokens you'll get.
Given the regulatory scrutiny besieged on Binance, particularly in the United States, and that Splinterlands is a United States-based company, what was discussed as to the risks of a U.S. crypto project associated with the Binance Smart Chain getting blocked or seized by U.S. regulators? What mitigation is in place to protect assets and players in such an event?
Yeah, I'm not generally too worried about Binance as far as regulatory scrutiny, but that's also on their centralized exchanges and really has nothing to do with the Binance Smart Chain. So I don't think there's any difference to us as far as like potential issues being on Binance Smart Chain or being, having this be on Ethereum or Hive or any chain. It's all the same. So that I don't think is a concern. As far as things getting blocked or seized by regulators, well, that's the cool thing about crypto stuff. I mean, unless they can get your private keys, they can't seize any of the crypto assets. They can certainly cause problems for our company, which isn't great. But that's also part of our roadmap with the oracles and the smart chain smart contracts, and moving in that direction to get it to the point where everything can still continue to run regardless of whether the Splinterlands company is running or not. That's the ultimate goal, I guess. If you want big picture, it's like we shouldn't need to be here at all for this to keep going. It should, maybe there won't be as much development work happening, but everything should still be able to run and go as normal, just like on Bitcoin or Ethereum, runs without any entity behind it. That's the goal, and that's what we're trying to get towards. So I don't think there's any like actual way that they can seize your assets. That's the whole point of having blockchain-based assets with public-private key encryption.
So that leads into this question pretty well. How do you envision the relationship between Splinterlands company and the DAO, or the governance token holders? Could you provide examples of responsibilities and decisions remaining exclusive to the company versus open to the DAO for input and change?
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. So I think it's like basically, ultimately, I hope it to be a symbiotic relationship between the two. So the DAO governance token, that part is completely controlled by the governance token holders. So, there's a foundation, there's funds that will be in the foundation that that the governance token holders can vote on how to use, and we expect it'll be a situation where if we want to build something that benefits the SPS tokens, which everything we plan to build will do, we may ask for some funding if we need it from the SPS Foundation, and then all the token holders can vote as to whether or not to provide that funding, and vice versa. So I think the Splinterlands, the company, will still maintain and operate the Splinterlands game as we do now, and that will we will work to give value to the governance tokens, and the governance tokens in turn help to provide value to the game. So it's like there's two separate entities that hopefully work together to just improve things for both parties.
Scrolling down here to Nardian, would you please consider the staking of the SPS on individual players very liquid? I believe you answered that down below. Just how liquid is it?
So it says this in the white paper, although it's just a quick one sentence, but the plan is that you can just switch up and change your tokens, like what players they're staked on, with just the blockchain transaction. There's no cooldown times or anything like that. So you could switch it around 100 times a day if you want, or more. But for unstaking, the plan is that there's going to be a power down period, similar to Hive or Leo. But yeah, you can, once staked, you can move your tokens around however you want.
Would you please consider a front-end SPS designed to include features through which I can tell in the game if a player is heavily or lightly staked?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to go to Nate, our designer. He's got a bunch more work on his plate for this stuff, but yeah, it'd be great to be able to easily tell if there's good opportunities, I guess, basically, to stake on certain players.
Would you please consider staking rewards on and for players managing their land too? Maybe on-market volume of produced items and spells, not just for battling. This will provide incentives for good land management and subsequent benefit to item and spell marketplaces.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if you're talking about like similar how the ranked battles will work, where you stake tokens on players and then earn based on their performance as far as land, we hadn't really been considering that. But what we had planned is that there's a reward pool that will be utilized for land expansion stuff, and the details of that will be figured out when we get to that point in the land expansion. But that's kind of how we're planning to incentivize good land management and stuff like that. But this is one of those things where we're going to put the stuff in place initially how we think is best, but ultimately all this stuff is going to be available and adjustable by the votes of the governance token holders. So everyone really thinks that you should be able to stake on people that own and manage land and earn another reward pool for that, then great. Submit those proposals and see if that happens.
Next question, it's a wonderful backhanded compliment. I get that the DAO governance is cool, but why is the staking model on players taking the back seat on this announcement? In my opinion, you guys are doing what Steam, Hive, Voice, etc. are doing to social media to gameplay. There's no other game publisher today, as far as I know, that is regarding players by staking players in which everyone wins other than the traditional methods like sports betting and even our guilds. Really, you guys need to stress this part more, as it's a lot more mind-blowing than governance, which has been around since the BIP days, albeit non-smart contract. This is a compliment. So, again, there's a lot to this, like I still really like the way that we've framed this, but man, there are a lot of components. You know, we've taken months to go put this together. It's not just like, here's a governance token, guys. I hope you like it. You know, it's really like a thought out thing, bringing in partners and bringing in funding and finding new people to help us. And but why are we calling this a governance token instead of a staking token? I mean, why is the emphasis on the governance more than any other component, of which there are many?
I mean, I also want to mention, you know, we talked about this specific question earlier because I like the question, and I am also super excited about that part of it. And, you know, hopefully we can work to make it more prominent, make sure people understand it and how cool it can be. As far as why specifically governance token, I mean, I think also because that's common, people understand it, especially when we're going out to try to do the token sale or bring partners on board. It's like clear, they get it, they understand what it is. They probably participated in other ones in the past that have done well. And versus if we call it something else or something different, you know, it's just more difficult and more explanations. So we went with like the kind of, that's the primary main utility and goal of the token. We have a lot to, like, you know, compare it to, in the sense that there's tons of other governance tokens out there. And then, you know, hopefully people are interested and dig into it and find out all the stuff that there is in addition to just basic governance associated with the token.
Bendoki is asking, have Binance bought a stake in Splinterlands, or is this an official Splinterlands / Binance partnership? Will Splinterlands be the main game on BSC and have staking like Our Planet and other NFT stakables as well on the platform?
So I'll say, you know, Binance has not currently bought a stake in Splinterlands, and is not any official Splinterlands and Binance partnership. But that being said, Binance has announced that they are building an NFT platform, you know, like similar to like an OpenSea or something, but, you know, with NFTs run on Binance Smart Chain. And that it's just all part of why, you know, having this be primarily based on Binance Smart Chain is a, you know, a strategic move in our opinion, versus if it was just all still Hive based. You know, it makes it much harder for us to go and talk with groups like Binance, and potentially do work with them in the future. So this is just like our way of getting into the more mainstream crypto world, while still retaining the benefits of having the game based on Hive. It just opens up a lot of opportunities, some of which we're going to be announcing in the next couple of weeks, and then there might even be a bunch more that come up that we don't even know about yet.
Surya is asking, can you please make skins tradable? We mentioned that the command is live, but it's not on the front-facing website. So we'll add that because that will increase the value of skins, of which there's only so many. What sort of things will landowners be voting for? So Matt mentioned some of this, but just generally, the proposal system comes in two kind of components. One is variables that are already built and stuff that is not already built. So, you know, something like how much Sparkstone or how many Ulana seeds will be produced by those buildings, or what's the time that it takes to make an item, how many resources. All of those are design questions, and they're all numeric variables that will go into figuring out how that whole land ecosystem works. And so on the one hand, you'll have the ability to vote to change individual variables, probably as part of a bigger smart contract. But you know, you could go in and say, we need to change this number because it's breaking the economy. And that's version 1. Version 2 is stuff that hasn't been built yet. So you're like, man, I need a Zeppelin that can help me travel from one land to the other. And maybe it should be by different splinter, and we should do all this other stuff, and it doesn't exist yet, and we want it. So here's a proposal, and we're going to go put that in and try to make this a priority for the Splinterlands team, or maybe even other development teams to put together. So I think that there's two classes: that which already exists, and you want to change the variable, and that which doesn't exist, and you want to see something built.
One thing I just want to say is that, there's we've also talked about like separate voting, specifically for land plot owners, for different things like within a region. So there'll be different things of like how your region, allocates resources and stuff, and that type of thing would just be up to voting between the landowners within that region. And the details haven't been worked out, but that's separate from SPS token voting. We're not going to have the whole proposal for the whole entire community to vote on how one specific region functions, for example.
Now you made the joke to Cryptomancer. When are you going to be done building everything we just announced? Do you want to give any kind of like high level dates for when the first piece of land may roll out, and then when do you think that the creation of the SPS token will actually, like, when could I first hold it in my wallet somewhere?
Well, I don't know what joke you're talking about. So yeah, well, we have a release timeline in the white paper and in the announcement posts. So that is, as always, our planned and hopeful release timeline. There's a lot of stuff that we need to work out and stuff that can change, but that's what we're hoping. With the token should be able to be released in relatively short order. I mean, it's not that much work to just create a new token. We want to make sure it's going to be compatible with all the stuff we want to plan to build on it. But yeah, July 2021 is what we expect that to be out. You can start holding it in your wallet, and then a little bit after that, the airdrop will start. And as far as lands, we've said we're shooting for Q2 to have the land claiming. With all this stuff going on, that may be delayed a little bit, but I don't expect it to be too much past Q2. I mean, we're super keen to have people start claiming their land, or redeeming their land claims for the actual NFTs, and get all that started. So a lot of this stuff is all going to be happening around the same time. We are bringing in new people. We have the one person already set up, ready to go, to be working on the airdrop, not the airdrop, sorry, the token and the Binance smart chain, smart contracts, and all that stuff. So, that's going to be going on in parallel. We're not going to be taking, work out of anything else to do that stuff. But there's always, coordination, some amount of additional work, just having more projects going at the same time. But, yeah, so that, take a look at the release schedule. Keep in mind it's estimated to the best of our abilities, but that's what we're looking at.
Channel Magnetic is asking, do you have an example of partnerships you were talking about, and does it relate to the SPS? I brought Andrew on board, so that was one discussion that we could have. A second one is an organization called Market Across. They're a big marketing firm in the crypto space, and they're now one of our partners, and they're going to go help us. So some of the big ticket marketing that we just, haven't had the right people in the right place to just blast this stuff all over the place. That's what I think they can help bring us. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple months. I don't want to talk about too many others. There's still more stuff that is under development, and maybe Matt wants to share some of these, but for now, I think we're releasing enough, so maybe not pour it all into one, but go for it.
Yeah, the partnerships are going to be announced when everything's finalized. It's ready to be announced. But the difference is also, like, in the past, partnerships, we're just, we agree to work with whoever to provide whatever services, cross promotion or whatever. But at this point, these partners are going to be actual investors in the SPS token, so they will be directly financially incentivized to, promote this. So it's going to be a bit of a different mechanic than we've had in the past, and I'm pretty excited for that.
Can we make sure that there's a nice and easy Docker container for those wanting to run an Oracle node? Let's make it as easy as mining on NiceHash.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to make it, an Oracle node is not going to be nearly as complicated as like most blockchain nodes, because really all it is just reading data from other blockchains and just publishing transactions. So yeah, the setup process we're going to make as easy and seamless as possible. But we're, it's going to be a while before we get there, so I can't answer any like detailed questions about that.
Do you have to have a CPU running 24/7 to run an Oracle node?
Yeah, you will. So typically, you wouldn't run an Oracle node like on your home computer. You'd run it in some type of data center, whether it could be Amazon or Microsoft or Google. And there's also like some other data centers, like Hetzner is one in Europe, and there's a bunch of others where you just have a hosted server. They're relatively cheap.
We gotta give a shout out to Privix. Come on.
Yeah, so Privex is one that is used very heavily for Hive and Steam nodes and things like that. So we'll probably work with Privex pretty closely, so they might probably just have an image ready for us where people can just go and pay to spin up an Oracle node, and they don't even have to do any of the setup or anything, which can be better than a Docker container. So
Splinterlands in a box.
Yeah.
All right. Matt is saying my Stone Splitter org retaliation chance increased to 50%. That's his proposal. So there's already good that guys are figuring out that, we get the jokes, but also just that's the kind of idea that, you can look at those individual things like what's retaliation, what's the miss rate, what's the difference in speed, and all of that can be edited by the players if there's enough support. And I think there's going to be enough support to make sure that Matt Clark misses all the time. I think that'll go through.
Yeah, UnitQM had another question also.
Oh, I missed it. Oh, how will today's announcement benefit new players? What do you think?
Well, ultimately, I think it will just benefit all players relatively equally in the sense that the opportunity is available to everyone. So it's not specifically aimed at new players, but it's just aimed at rewarding all players more. So we as always have work to do on the user interface and resources to make sure new players understand and are kind of guided through all this stuff and what's happening. But ultimately, if more and more players are earning more and more rewards through Splinterlands, it's going to help our retention rate, and it's going to help bring new players in immensely, right? If you just hear about all these people making all this money through something, it's gonna raise eyebrows and get more attention. So that, this is not specifically targeted at new players really in any way. But the goal is just to make Splinterlands an overall much more rewarding game for all players, which should give players, more incentive to join and more incentive to stay and more incentive to purchase assets.
UnitQM, you're a good dude. And so what I would love to see is something like a proposal from you where you're like, you know what, I think I could really put something together that's good. I want to put together a new user onboarding, either course or team or Big Brother program, whatever, something like that. Let's see if the other players want to support it. And then you could put in a proposal to the DAO and get funding to either give to new players, to pay yourself, to pay a team, to pay whatever. I think if there's places where, sometimes you need a guy like Matt to go in and fix the silica chips to go do certain stuff. And then there's times where it's about, interacting with the carbon-based life forms. And if there are more formal processes or teams, or there's like just dudes that are paid to help and answer questions and do this stuff, and that's part of what the DAO wants, and that's what the players want, then, that's one of the ways that having this whole thing that the players themselves can fill the gaps that we as a company can't always devote the full time and attention to the full extent that any group of players might want. Now, if you can go get support from the community, you guys are going to be able to build and do, just about anything to help in the ways that you think this game should grow. Yeah, I don't. Highs on Wave isn't quite related to this. Have you guys considered Telos instead of Binance Smart Chain? Do you want to say anything else about Binance Smart Chain or why we went there versus other chains, or anything else you want to kind of either answer that directly or that generally of why we're doing BSC instead of other places?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely considered Telos, which is also a fork of EOS, similar to Wax. But I mean, I know, Stealth Trader, that you're a big Telos fan, and I know we've talked about we are going to accept Telos tokens as payment in the game, which is just taking longer than expected. But basically, we were just looking at the opportunity, right? The opportunity is massively higher on Binance Smart Chain than it is on Telos. We just would not have brought in the same partners. We would not have brought in, nearly anything that were near what we're, hoping to accomplish on Binance Smart Chain. And the second is, the how we can get this developed, right? So, Binance Smart Chain is just a straight fork of Ethereum. So the smart contract development and processes are all the same. That's why it's going to be much easier, for us to copy and just modify some existing DAO contracts that are popular and have tooling for them. And we have been audited and all that stuff. There's a lot more developers, that are familiar with the Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain ecosystem. It was just honestly we considered lots of chains because we worked with lots of different chains, and it was hands down the best opportunity, for everybody on Binance Smart Chain right now.
Matt, what happens if people break the game by changing card stats if they get hold of the majority of the SPS?
Well, first of all, if that's the question that comes up with delegated proof of stake. It's like someone could buy all of the tokens or the majority of the tokens and mess stuff up. And this has come up on Steam and Hive. And so my first answer is, and what happened on Steam, first of all, is, the tokens were not really purchased on the open market from token holders. They were just purchased from, Ned Scott, who was not, they weren't really his to sell. So that's a bit of a different scenario. But in general, that's not the case here, where the founders are going to have the majority of the token that we can just do whatever we want with. We'll have a very small portion of the token. So if someone wants to come up and buy a majority of the token, that should be fantastic for everybody here. That will move the token price. Everyone can sell their tokens to these people, whoever it might be, at whatever prices they want to sell for. And it would just be super fantastic. Just like if someone wants to come buy up, more than 50% of Hive tokens in order to totally take over the chain, like, fantastic. That sounds great for anyone that holds Hive tokens, just like it would be for anyone that holds SPS tokens. And then same thing that happened when Steam was taken over. The community can fork, right? Because the real value is not in the token holders, it's in the people. It's you. So like if some person somehow becomes a majority token holder and just starts screwing everything up, the people can leave, right? And if the people aren't there, then there's no value to anything. So it's really like, that's not an actual issue, in my opinion. Because one, if someone wants to buy up the majority of the tokens, great, everyone here makes a lot of money. And then you can also, just fork. And if the whole community leaves and you're left with just a few people that want to screw everything up, then the value and everything will move with the community, just like we saw happen with Hive and Steam.
And one thing to mention is that we've had people come up to us and say, "Hey, we want to buy $1 million worth of your token," and we're not selling that much of it. It's something like 6 or 7%, 6 or 7, not 60 or 70, but 6 or 7%. It's a pretty small amount that we're selling. A lot of this is going to people that are providing liquidity or playing the game or the airdrop. We're not selling that much. But we told those people no, and we said, yes, we'd love for you to invest and purchase some of this, but hey guys, we're not going to sell you $1 million worth. And we have a very small handful of groups that we think are long-term partners with us that we have sold a significant amount to, but we're not, just in general, we're keeping allocations of tokens relatively small on purpose, so that there's no one group that could just decide to dump and wreck the market. There's not one group that could, ultimately take over the chain and do all this stuff. I mean, you would literally have to own like a pretty sizable chunk and then winning all of the prizes and providing all the liquidity or just come in with some ungodly, absurd amount of money to be able to do that and really take a significant voting spot in this. So, like Matt said, we're setting this thing up different to not shoot ourselves in the foot over the long term.
Well,
Right.
and we went through exactly the situation already with Steam to Hive, which is, sort of fortunate because like we can literally see, we literally have an example of what can happen and how something could be taken over and what could be done in that situation to work off of. Can't ask for a better example than that.
So hopefully we're wise enough to avoid the at least easily identifiable pitfalls from that. Dave is asking, it appears there are a lot of rewards for the oracles. How would one become an oracle? So that goes back to the question about Docker and having sort of nodes and node services that are easy to spin up. So the service is not too complicated. It shouldn't be that expensive to run, but it will be delegated proof of stake. So part of this will be, how good are you in the community? Are you an active player? Are you high ranking? Are you a token holder? Are you all these things? Because you're gonna want to interact with the community. You're gonna want to build their trust. You're gonna work here very much like the Hive witnesses or the Steam witnesses formerly. So you just want to build the best reputation that you can, because that's how you're going to build votes. And some of that is we're going to want the most technical people, and some of that is we're going to want the most community-driven people, and some of that, it's going to be up to what the stakeholders value. But to run an Oracle, it should be pretty simple. Even an Aggie could do it. You don't have to be a Matt, and to do it well and to be voted into place, you're going to need some either technical skills or social skills to help the game grow in one of those places.
Yeah, so TLDR, we're going to make it as easy as possible to run an Oracle. Not literally just like pay a service that it's just done for you. And then really the work is on like more political. It's a lot like Hive witnesses, although that's still technically a bit more complicated. But yeah, the idea is really the work is political and getting voted into an Oracle position. And there will likely be a portion of the rewards given out to back up Oracles, similar to Hive. We want to encourage, we don't want to have it be like, oh, well, I'm not going to get, voted into the top spot, so I'm not even going to bother. We still want to have some rewards going, so there's redundancy in the system. If some oracles drop out or whatever, there's lots of new ones ready to take their place. And as far as the size of the rewards, I mean, a lot of that stuff may end up being adjusted and changed via SPS token holder votes. When this is launched and we see how it shakes out. But we're as we talked about, we're planning on a lot more for oracles as things go forward than just between Binance Smart Chain and the game for the SPS token. Like I said, they could potentially handle the bridges to all the other blockchains and even other things in the game going forward.
Question: if I'm renting a card from someone, who gets the points, the airdrop points for that card's collection power?
The owner. So yeah, otherwise, everyone would just stop their rentals when the airdrops start. We don't want that at all. We want to encourage rentals as much as possible. So if you are renting out your cards, you will still get the airdrop points for those.
Missed question: will locking cards earn you more SPS? So if they're locked longer, will that help you in any way?
No, the locking cards is really just a security feature, so it's not going to earn you any more SPS.
This is from CryptKeeper17 at 836. Does this governance token give the incentive for people with multiple accounts to consolidate into fewer, bigger, and better accounts due to these rewards?
Generally, it's always my feeling that we don't want to incentivize people to like split up into many different accounts. That just that to me is a signal that there's something wrong with how it works. So generally I don't have like specifics here yet, but as we design everything, our goal is to have it be you just want to stake as much as you can in your one account, and there's not any benefit to splitting it up between a whole bunch of different accounts. That may not always work out to be the case in practice, but that's the goal.
I'm scrolling down to Crypto Eater. This is at 821. Will there be a way to set a certain account as a beneficiary for the airdrop in case someone has multiple accounts?
Where do we go here?
821 in blue.
Oh, Crypto Eater. Okay. Certain account as beneficiary for the airdrop. I hadn't really planned that. You just, can claim the airdrop in, across your multiple accounts and then transfer the token. We'll see. I mean, if it's something that's like maybe really easy to do, then maybe we can get it in. But otherwise, I don't want to start like adding a bunch of features, especially for something that's not like permanent, like the airdrop. So I guess it depends on like if it's a quick and easy thing, then fine. But otherwise, I would consider it a priority.
Will the alpha gold cards have bonuses for SPS gained through play?
Yeah, I think it mentions that somewhere in the white paper, but there's a lot in there. But the plan is for it to be basically similar, if not the same, as for dark energy crystals earned through ranked play right now. So alpha and gold cards will have bonuses, which is also part of just how the SPS the game provides value to the SPS tokens, and the SPS tokens provide value back to the game. That's an example of that. And again, this is one of the many things that can be, if you don't like it, if the numbers are not what you want, submit a proposal. It can be changed through governance voting.
Will there be a tool that shows how many shares and total shares and percentage of total shares in terms of the airdrop?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how the airdrop stuff is going to look, but I as a player of games like to have all that information. So I would like to be able to show, we'll have to have that data in the database to be able to give out the airdrop appropriately. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue to show that on the screen. The airdrop tokens you're getting, where exactly they're coming from, what percentage of the total pool, and all that information.
Will there be burns for the SPS tokens? For example, maybe a portion of the fees charged for the proposal system can be burned amongst other future burn features?
So yeah, I think definitely to submit a proposal, it would require like a small amount of SPS tokens to be burned, just mainly to prevent people from spamming ridiculous proposals. But yeah, I think it makes sense going forward as there's additional things that can be done specifically with the tokens, that they would be burned in those cases.
QM is asking, which player would be the better staking option? If it's a bot, then I'm 100% out. So which of those two players, either rank 8 or rank 9, would be better for staking onto?
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter the number of battles, really. That's the whole energy capture rate thing, right? So just playing a lot of battles does not get you any more tokens. It works just the same as dark energy crystals work right now. So since in this example, UniQM, you have the higher rating, you would be the better option, or you would be able to have more SPS staked on you and provide a higher return than a lower ranked player.
Although ironically, if you were maxed and everybody was like, we're not putting anything on the bot, just putting a small amount on the bot would actually earn a slightly higher return. But that gets back to like the math around, you want to stake the highest player, but if everybody stakes the highest player, then you get a diminishing return. So we're going to see, hopefully we'll see a distribution amongst the top players where the market figures out the math and says, okay, well, I could also go on to Byzantinist, or I could also go on to Yasek, or maybe I'll just support myself and go this far or get a little bit higher. Or, I don't know, there's not one answer to this, because it also comes down to how does it actually play out in reality.
Well, you have to look at it by per SPS stake. That's why in the white paper, in the ranked battles section, there's a table and on the rightmost column is return per year for 1 SPS stake. So basically, for the same amount of SPS stake, the higher rated player will earn a higher return. It doesn't matter how many battles you play.
All right, question for Yaba. You've said in the past that this will change everything. We see how this game changes parameters in the game. How does this change the attractiveness of Splinterlands to people who are not already in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think we talked about this a few times, but happy to rehash because it's important. The idea is that this brings tons of more value into the ecosystem, and the tons of more value pretty much all goes to players and asset owners. So that is pretty much the main thing that affects the attractiveness of Splinterlands to people who are not in the ecosystem. If there's tons of value coming in, and players and asset holders are starting to earn lots and lots of money as a result, then it makes it very attractive automatically. So that's the changing the parameters and the governance stuff, like we talked about. That's just like one part of this whole thing, but it really I think is accurate to say it pretty much is going to change everything about the product going forward. Not just how it works, but how it's perceived, by players, by investors, by whales, people in the crypto industry, everything, which is going to really change a lot for the game.
Numenon is asking, what happens if a massive whale just dumps 200,000 to buy 100,000 packs and imbalances the ecosystem?
Well, I'm not sure how that would imbalance the ecosystem at all. We have seen in the past a whale dump a whole bunch into pack and then exit, and that was picked up pretty well, and we've recovered from that pretty well. So I don't think that will be a big problem, and I think as more money comes into the ecosystem, it's just like liquidity with tokens. The more liquidity there is, the more money it takes to really move the needle on things. So as more people and as more funds come into this ecosystem, it's less and less of an impact a 200K investment would have on the whole system. So that's ultimately what we want. We want to grow it big enough so that even whales coming in don't really disturb the system as much as has happened in the past.
All right. I echo those thoughts. Dave McCoy is asking, can you discuss how much in total you raised from the VCs? If not specific numbers, can you give us some color at all? I don't know how much detail you want to go in. You're more conservative than I am about this stuff, Matt.
Yeah, for right now, we shouldn't discuss that, any specific numbers. But the color that I would give is that in the past, we've been a profitable business, but we really haven't had that much excess capital to go out and hire a whole bunch of people and really take things to the next level. We had to be very, very careful about our spending. We had to be very careful about our hiring, and we're really not in that position anymore. We're in a different position where we have to figure out how to allocate our capital effectively. We have a significant amount of capital, and we have to figure out how we can use that to just take this to the moon. And this announcement today, Splinter Shards, is kind of one big step in that direction.
Yeah, just going back a couple of years, there was a period where we weren't entirely positive we would make it as a business, and that has colored some of what we have done. We want to make sure that there's always enough money in the bank that if crypto goes completely to hell, and all of our sales stop, or there's some technical problem or something that lasts a couple months, that we are okay. Not just us personally, but that this ecosystem has enough resources in it to make sure that we can power through it and get to the other side. And even if we had 4 months without $1 in revenue, we would still be on the other side of that, being like, all right, here's the next product, here's the next expansion that we're gonna do. Matt, please don't hurt me. This is what we're doing. Cryptomancer, you got to pull 365 all-nighters. Sorry about it, but you just got to do all the coding. I mean, we just
Yeah.
want to be in that position, and so
Our issue now is more finding, the people, the good people to hire, rather than finding the money to hire them.
yeah, we're entering the next scale as a business, and it's exciting times. It is daunting times, but I don't know. This thing just takes us to a whole new level, guys.
I just had like a random thought that I wanted to throw out there, not related. I mean, related to governance stuff, but I was also, one thing that I wanted to mention is like, once the governance stuff is all set up and going with the voting, it won't be like it is now where we'll put out a post that says, hey, here's all the stuff that we're changing. I mean, all that stuff is, comes from player feedback, and we talk to players and try to figure out what is best for the community and what players want. But it's not going to be like we just make a post and say, okay, we're adding these new rule sets and we're changing these rewards this way and doing whatever we're doing. It's instead, we are going to submit proposals, right? If we think something should be changed, we'll just start submitting proposals for voting, and that's how they'll get included. So, I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if people have thought about that, but I think that right there is a pretty profound and exciting change, in my opinion, at least.
Question: How much do you see top players earning daily, weekly, monthly from SPS or in SPS?
Well,
maybe?
so that's so in dollar value, I have no idea. That's going to be up to market pricing. Obviously, we talked about we're going to do everything we can to provide as much value as we can to the token and incentives for people to hold the token rather than to sell it. But that's up to the market to decide, and we'll see. As far as like how many SPS tokens, I'd have to look at numbers, but I guess you can, I'm sure some people, if it's, similar, like for ranked battles, will be very similar to dark energy crystals in a lot of ways. We publish some of the formulas for staking and how that's planned to work. So, some of the Neil McSpaddens out there with their spreadsheets can maybe come up with some decent estimates, and I'm happy to provide feedback on those if anyone wants to do it. But I don't have any like numbers to share right now.
Will tournament prizes increase due to new investments?
Well, tournament prizes are going to increase due to the governance token, as there's going to be a new governance token tournament prize pool, which we plan to be in addition to the existing dark energy crystal prize pool. I don't know if the investments will specifically increase tournament prizes, but just overall, the whole point of all this is more rewards for players. So, it maybe, as we get more people in, maybe people will be interested in sponsoring tournaments for different things more so. We haven't specifically been talking about that very much yet, but sure.
Nate123 is asking at 8:45, will this DAO have the capability to allow for revenue sharing and or dividends from future sales?
I mean, yes, in the sense that the DAO will have, so there'll be, the DAO will have a bunch of tokens in the foundation, which is controlled by the DAO. The DAO will probably, provide liquidity with a bunch of tokens, and it will earn rewards. The DAO could even, vote to stake the tokens in the game on certain players, right, to earn more SPS tokens as a result. And then, the DAO has the ability to disperse those tokens however players see fit through voting. So if players vote to disperse tokens to token holders based on whatever metrics they come up with in the proposal that passes, I mean, it's pretty really open-ended, which I know is hard to for people to wrap their minds around. I mean, even myself, having thought about this for a long time, you still kind of come up with new ideas and things where you're like, oh, I didn't realize we could do this, because it's pretty much open to most anything that could be coded into a smart contract, which is pretty much mostly anything. So yeah, it 100% could have the capability to allow for revenue sharing, dividends, sales, whatever. I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless.
Question, with these new partnerships and changes, will some of what the community sees as misses be addressed more quickly, boss battles, etc.? While it's great and I am super excited for everything to come, it seems these older items aren't focused on. It may give the imagery that these new people are coming in and are overshadowing the alpha funding members that made this possible.
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately, like, that will come from less the new partnerships, but more us being able to bring more people on board to be able to build some of this stuff. But ultimately, what it comes down to is like our goal is we want to grow this thing, right? We want to grow the value for everybody involved here as much as possible. And as cool as I think boss battles might be, I don't feel like they are going to, increase the value of everybody's assets, or they don't have the potential to nearly as much as these other things. And so we would be doing, most everyone, including yourself and even the people who are very excited for boss battles, we'd be doing them a disservice by focusing our limited resources on that instead of things that we feel are much more likely to just improve everything for everybody. So, we want to do that stuff. I mean, the bosses that have been created are really awesome. I think that the plans we have for boss battles are cool and exciting. And I hope that, now that we have the resources, we're able to bring in enough people to start working on this stuff in addition to all the other things we're working on. But, unless we have extra people to do it, we have to focus on the things that are going to bring the most value to everybody.
And I don't, Matt's being a little hard on this, but I would say, hey, look, man, we've been working on it. Because the basis of the boss battles will ultimately be the anytime tournament system, and likely some of the features that are built out of the guild anytime, like the guild brawls. So before we could even get to boss battles, we needed a tournament system, a guild tournament system, and then we can build the boss battles. So I think it's just been a much bigger project than we ever imagined it would be to get to this point. But just so you know, we've been building it. We've been building the backbone, and we've been releasing it as we go. Some of the next steps in that, now that we have guilds, now that we have anytime tournaments, now that we have guild anytime tournaments, that's really like the underlying technology for boss battles. So we've been building it. Just keep in mind that just some of the scope and scale. We did this like 2 years ago, and we just didn't understand at the time how much. We just thought it was like, oh, we'll just do boss battles, not having any idea how big of a project that actually turned into being. So some of that was like over promising in a Kickstarter, which happens in some Kickstarters. Matt will blame me. He's probably right. But I just want to say we've been building it. It's just that it's a much bigger project than we imagined. And
we also don't want to put out something crappy, right? We could just be like, okay, we promised boss battles. We're just going to throw some stupid boss battle out there to shut people up. But like that's not what I would want to do. Definitely to take off the box. So like we want to do boss battles. We want boss battles to be really cool, but we got to make sure it's the right allocation of our resources. For everyone's benefit.
All right. Dave is asking, I noticed a lot of rewards for liquidity pools. Can you explain more about that? Will this be part of the DEC land resource pools you are creating?
No.
Why is there so much money going to that? Or so much SPS?
Yeah, the plan is to incentivize people to put SPS tokens as liquidity in liquidity pools across Uniswap, PancakeSwap, potentially Alcor on Wax, Tribal Dex on Hive Engine, all that stuff. Liquidity is super important, and this is all part of what I kind of had talked about earlier about like just getting the attention and the funds of the broader crypto community and where the kind of the big money and the big players are. Like they're not getting involved in dark energy crystals and things with like $200,000 of liquidity available. Like they're the type of people who put in $200,000 at a minimum. That would be the entire liquidity pool. So we need to really, we're looking for millions of dollars of liquidity on multiple pools on multiple platforms. I don't know if that's necessarily achievable. We hope it is, at least eventually. But so we need to make sure that there's, people are heavily incentivized to do that. But ultimately, as we talked about, like, this is what we think is the right way that we're planning on launching to start. If it turns out not to be, then we submit a proposal to change it. And if enough people agree, it gets changed. And that's just a easy parameter adjustment. But really, liquidity pool incentives might be one of the most important things on there, just as far as like getting attention from the broader cryptocurrency community. Like if all of a sudden they're like, hey, what's this token with $10 million of liquidity on Pancake Swap? That raises some eyebrows. That gets people to look at us a lot more seriously than they do now, where it's just like, yeah, they're they got a cool thing going, but it's like it's tiny and we can't really participate. So it's all part of making this a much bigger thing for the entire game than anything we've done in the past.
All right. So when a proposal is submitted, will there be an initial screening on feasibility by devs? Even though the governance provides more power to the users, most of us are interested in gaming and might not understand the effort that goes into a dev and might not understand the economic impact of the change. A city game on Hive provides a lot of power to users of governance, but users indulge in petty politics and no one benefits from that. So will a proposal be submitted? Is there a screening by us?
I don't know if necessarily a screening in the sense that like anyone can still submit any proposal and people can vote on that. I think we would, if there's any proposals that seem to be gaining traction or likely to be approved, there would be a mechanism, probably Hive based, to comment on them, but from us or anybody, and we put in our 2 cents. We'd say what's involved and if it's doable and yada yada yada. And if people still kind of overwhelmingly approve it, that means it's something we probably should at least try to figure out how we can put resources towards. And then going further on that, the DAO is also going to have resources and funds. So it may be the case that Splinterlands says, look, we just can't do this thing, but the DAO might be able to go out and find a developer who basically submits a proposal and says, hey, for X amount of funding, I can go build this thing that, the community clearly wants. So I'd love to see something like that happen. That really would be great. So that's what I think about that.
Will oracles require BNB tokens in order to run? Are you expecting this to be a significant amount?
Individual oracles won't. It'll be the type of situation where oracles will need to be publishing transactions on the Binance Smart Chain, but it will be like all the oracles together, or a majority of them, will need to sign the transaction. This is what we're planning. It may change, but so the idea is that the oracles will all have one signature in a multi-sig wallet, and that wallet will need to have a BNB in order to publish the transactions on the chain. So that'd be the type of thing where likely the DAO would just vote to put up a certain amount, should be a very small amount of funds as BNB into the Oracle multi-sig wallet account. But to run an Oracle, you wouldn't need to have any cryptocurrency funds yourself.
Could you very briefly explain the Oracle interaction with the BSC to Hive to Splinterlands consensus bridge in that regard? Do you feel like you just did that, or is there something else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like technical details, I look at what I don't know how to pronounce it, but FBSLO, the Hive account. He's done a lot of work on decentralized bridges between Hive and other chains. So we're looking at maybe extending some of his work, and it works similarly how that works with multi-sig accounts, both on the Hive blockchain and on the external blockchain, Binance Smart Chain and also others. and then the oracles would all be one of the signers on those multi-sig accounts.
Crypto Eater is asking, how much approximately are you selling these tokens for to the partners? Or in other words, how much do you value each of these tokens at this stage?
That's not, we're not talking about that yet.
Question, for the SPT tokens giving points for the airdrop, does it matter if the tokens are staked instead of just in your wallet?
Well, SPT tokens can't be staked on Leo Finance, but they can be staked on Splinter Talk and Hive Engine. But no, yeah, staked tokens count just as much as liquid tokens. But tokens that are listed for sale on the market will not count. So if you have SPF tokens or Dark Energy Crystal tokens listed for sale on like bid app market, like on Hive Engine, you know, those will not count just because of the difficulty in, you know, just pulling that information. They're not listed as like your tokens in your account in that case.
With Untamed selling out any day, how does a new player jump on board in July to start building assets, earning SPS distributions, and be competitive in ranked battles?
They buy cards on the market. You know, packs aren't always the best way, especially for new players to get in. You know, so they'll have to buy cards in the market, and we're looking forward to also, you know, having all the new money that's coming into the game going to other players, and taking a break from having some of that go to Splinterlands. You know, again, it's all just part of, you know, if card values are going up, players are, you know, having more value, earning more money. That just is the best marketing you could possibly have. It sounds way better to hear, you know, players made $1 million last year selling Splinterlands cards than Splinterlands, the company, made $1 million selling Splinterlands cards. So, yeah, new players will put in money into the game just like they're doing now. It will just all have to be going, you know, to other players selling cards in the market rather than buying packs for a little while.
All right, I think we're gonna wrap this up. I can see just a couple last questions, and I feel like let's go do these last questions that are here. No more questions. Let's go. I want to answer these. We can give our sort of final thoughts, call it an evening, and then I'm actually driving to Matt's area tomorrow, and we're gonna have a thought day and try to just take advantage of all the stuff that's here. Make sure that we're working together, and we'll be in person tomorrow. Talking about the next steps in the morning, because there is another AMA in the morning. And so here we go. So what's the benefit of someone staking SPS into you as a player?
Where are you?
Stealth Trader 943. So why would I? So I know if I stake it on somebody else, I earn. But what's the advantage of being staked on as a player?
Well, yeah, you won't, if you don't have any SPS tokens staked on you, you won't earn any from winning ranked battles. Maybe, I don't know if it necessarily won't be any, but very little. So the goal of every player should be to get as much SPS staked on them as possible, so that they themselves as a player will earn more SPS tokens in the ranked battles. So that's the difference between Dark Energy Crystals, where you just win your battle, you get the Dark Energy Crystals based on the formulas and the bonuses. So it's basically that, but then there's a factor of how much SPS you have staked on you, which just will determine how much you as the player get.
So I, as a top 50 player without assets, playing on a delegated account, will continue to earn similar amount of DEC, but also additional SPS token when someone stakes on to me as a player?
That's right. Yeah. So even if you have no assets at all, you're just renting, playing on a delegated account or whatever, then yeah, if you based on your rating, you can earn SPS tokens, which will encourage people to stake SPS tokens on you. So you'll be able to earn whether or not, like, if you're just a good player and you're a high ranking player in the game, you don't have to have any assets actually yourself. Just being, you know, a good player is your asset really in that case.
Okay, so Matt, why don't you give us kind of your closing thoughts? Give us a brief rundown on what you see as the value of SPS, why we're doing it, why you're excited, just super high level. Give us what do you want us to walk away knowing about this project, and why we should all just be like salivating about it.
Well, there's like many different things that I think are really cool. But I think the biggest thing ultimately is the fact that I think this is going to be the thing that really brings Splinterlands into the, not the word is not the mainstream, but like in front of the crypto community as like a big serious project. With a lot of funds and people and resources behind it, which that's the main thing that's different than everything else we've done to date. It's been on Hive or Steam, which are relatively like unknown, untrusted chains that people, the crypto whales, the people very involved in the industry weren't so interested in getting involved with. I mean, we had lots of talks over the years, and it's like, oh, okay, Hive or Steam, what's that type of thing. So we're going to keep the game on Hive as normal because there's lots of benefits that we get from doing that. But the fact that the token and the DAO is going to be based on Binance Smart Chain is just really going to open this up, and I think open the floodgates for people to come in and start seeing what we have here, seeing the benefits that you guys have all seen for years. I think that's going to really open the floodgates, and that's going to be the biggest change for everyone, as compared to all the other things in here, which I think are really cool and fun and innovative and all that stuff. But the Binance Smart Chain, as the base for the token, and all this partnerships and stuff that brings, that to me going to be the biggest change for the project.
So I'll take a shot at answering this too. When I started my Steam Witness, like almost 4 or 5 years ago, my opening post was "People are the value," and I have not moved from that one iota. And my whole hope and goal for this game is bringing as many people into crypto and as many people into this ecosystem as I can possibly bring in. And this partnership and these companies and this leadership and this money and these resources and new devs and designers and all these people that want to come and work with us and buy our token, shill our token, tell stories, new people playing the game, all of that I think is going to drive this company to more adoption than we've ever seen. And in thinking about NFTs, if I had to break it down into just one sentence, people are the value. In the NFT land, I'm going to say utility is the value. And that's underneath people are the value, because I don't care how much utility you have. If there's no people, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, when it comes down to what is going to give an NFT value, it's really about the utility. And I think this governance token tied in with our NFTs, with our stablecoin, with our partners, we already have one of the most robust ecosystems in any crypto project. We have 200,000 rental contracts that have happened. We have 60 million games that have been played. We have players in 142 countries. The game is translated in 8 languages. We have just an enormous supply of passionate, caring, enthusiastic players. And I think our NFT is really one of the most, just has more utilities baked into this. And now we have the stable coin and we have an appreciating governance token. I think our ecosystem is really rounding out to have everything we need for us all to go to the same moon. And so that's what I get excited about. That's what makes me, rack my brain and think, what other things can we build? How can I help this project? What other things can I design? Where are we going to get new people and new partnerships? And how do we just staying at this thing day and night, trying to make it as awesome as possible for all of you and for our families. So, man, the people are the value, and NFTs need utility, and I just feel like this whole ecosystem is getting rounded out. So that's 2 hours for tonight. There's going to be another hour tomorrow. So if you feel like you missed something, or you want it, you sleep on it and you have some good questions, come on back into the AMA channel, and we'll be answering stuff. That call is going to be at 9 a.m. Eastern, so that's 11 hours from now. So we'll be fresh, awake, and right back at it. And hopefully you guys are right there with us. I can't record that one because I'm going to be not at my desktop here, but either Matt can do it or somebody else can help us record. But guys, I hope that you, having heard this more, heard from our partners, heard about all the different ways that this can work, have a even better appreciation for just how groundbreaking Matt's ideas have been, how awesome this is going to make our ecosystem, how much more money is literally already flowing into the ecosystem, how many more resources we are going to have to help develop things. And honestly, this is one of the biggest days in company history. It's an honor and a pleasure to share it with you. And thank you for being part of our community, helping our game grow, and many blessings for a wonderful week. And, thank you for spreading the word, and let's go kick some ass in the Splinterlands. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you all, and have a nice night.